Hello, dear friends, the human family. How you doing? Everything all right? How's it going where you are? Your in your coordinates in the world. Everything all right? So I've been absent for some time. If you've pondered upon the thought of whatever happened to Steve, what's going on with the Gnostic takeover? Have they taken him over? Or is the Gnostic message the message for humanity? And they didn't call themselves Gnostic. Oh, I'm all knowing. Oh, I know everything. No, maybe it's just an indication that there is such a thing as gnosis, ultimate knowing, coming full circle as that breaks the circuit of thought loops, of continuous thinking what it is. What earth are we living on? Is it flat? Is it round? Is it hollow? Couldn't give a damn. I don't know. If I go out there and I take a look at it, I might know. And I don't have the time to delve too much into all of these things because there are more urgent issues going on. So I had a break for a little bit more than 2 weeks. So what could have been the cause of me not going online? You guessed it, censorship. Yeah. So I uploaded a video which was less than a minute with people just showing signs about and how dangerous it is. Some action that they did in New Zealand, which I found pretty good. Just stand on the street and just show that to people. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea, so I shared it. And I thought I would get away with it, but AI, it looks like, can also pick up on the images that are contained within the video. So I got banned. Naughty boy. Naughty boy. Very naughty boy. Well, that gives me the indication that I need to be even naughtier. But in an intelligent way, obviously. So yeah, I'm back. I'm feeling good. And things are moving forward. I've got some updates to break to you. I don't know if I can get to it today because this episode today is dedicated to idea. To an idea within the realms of infinite ideas. What is natural intelligence? It's the forming of an idea. And let me quote one of the great geniuses. I hope I still have that quote somewhere. Yeah. So this is, when we look back into history, and I studied history at the University of Vienna also, and I studied history to realize that they most lie about history. Of course they would, of course. Because as George Orwell said, when you control the past, you control the future, and when you control the present, you control the past. So you control all time, the Chronos, god of Saturn, limitation, restriction, the involutionary force that is represented by Saturn, Satan, involution, compression. Think of a feather that you compress, okay? This is what the world's going through right now. Oh, that's a different perspective. It's good to share different perspectives, isn't it? Because I also sometimes get into a rant and I'm sick and tired of this world and I'm just like, when's this fucking shit gonna end? I'm sick and tired having all this time spent, look at this, spent on liability, and contracts and all that. Doing lots of study at the time, and I'm sick and tired sometimes of the world. But isn't it good to take a different idea? What are we going through? We're going through a compression. Compression leads to depression. Depression is what we're going through right now. Depression, deep rest. You need to take a deep rest. Take some time off. Just let go. When you get too confused, you just let go. And then you come back to yourself. That's what we're going through right now in the world. And you've got a feather, and it compresses. And that compression then goes to that motion. It expands. Contraction, expansion. The 666 is the contraction, and through the 9, you get the expansion. And it's about time we get the expansion, because here in Europe, we're about like reaching the end of the summer. Sort of autumn is already coming in a little bit, and people are getting anxious, of course, because they've been entrained with the frequency of fear of another lockdown happening. And they, in comparison to us human beings, they, meaning they, is the technocrats, are quite predictable. If anything, predictable. So you know what's coming next. Everyone knows what's coming next. It's not going to get any better, is it? And are we going to be still so stupid to wait for some savior outside? Is Trump going to make a move, huh? Well, I talked about that already last year. You can watch on Age of Truth TV. Last year in October, we did the Q Trump card. I'll put it in the links below, where we talked about the savior complex and looking for the savior outside. So things are not going to get better. What the world needs is an idea to get behind. That's what the world needs most. And my hypothesis is that when those technocrats are nothing but predictable, you know what the agenda is, okay? Transhumanism, AI, making us to machines, the assimilation. Resistance is futile from machine beings whose intelligence is limited, wanting to impose that worldview on us and make us to machines. So my hypothesis, when this world is run by a bunch of criminals, and beyond that, it goes into the hyper-criminality, the dark side of the spectrum, where we get into Satanism. This world's run by Satanists. And they want to impose their worldview on us, and apparently they've got their lives completely under control. That's why they want to control the lives of others also. So we know the agenda, what they're pushing. And my hypothesis is that we are the coronavirus they want to eliminate. That's what, from their perspective, from those so-called rulers who have their lives so much under control and are in such a state of balance that they want to control the lives of everyone else too, because they're so talented. That's what they mean with eliminating the virus. What the virus really is spontaneity, is unpredictability. Because since I've been looking a little bit into history now also, the last few weeks now, I took some time off, and then I like to look into history. There's something very weird going on from the end of the 18th century into the 19th century. Something changed. I want to point to the mud flood, okay? A possible catastrophe that happened throughout the world and eliminated, during the course of this procedure, eliminated a worldwide culture that had free energy. Right until like 200 years ago, the world was very different. So they focused on changing history to make it look like we're just a bloodthirsty species that can't get on with each other and we just want war all the time. Well, then I ask myself, do I want war? Does any one of you guys want war? Is that something that really drives our behavior? Or are we manipulated into wars? Well, and what I wanted to share with you is to not stay stuck in an imposed worldview of reality. Oh, this has to be so. Oh, it's inevitable. This is going to happen. Like, for example, that come autumn now, things are going to get even more draconian. Well, that doesn't have to be. And we can change reality anytime we want. That is a choice. So I want to share with you and go into the realm of ideas with you and put that into perspective with history, because something happened at the end of the 17th, at the end of the 18th, beginning of the 19th century. Something happened, and it goes along also with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and this machine-like society, okay, where people exchanged their communities, okay, where they had a strong bond within their community, sort of like where people were still connected with each other, working for each other, helping each other, and creating things together in unison, where individuality was respected. That unit was broken up and people started to become part of the company, working for industrial companies in the course of the Industrial Revolution. And this also corresponds with when imperialism started, and also what we're told by official history, sort of like the end bit of, and the beginning of a new phase, actually, the beginning of a new phase of colonialism. Well, I would make the point that when we pick things up from the Industrial Revolution to now the fourth Industrial Revolution, we're looking at a program, at an agenda of colonization. And it takes many different forms. And we're in the end game now, where they want to completely take over this natural realm. They want to take over Earth, and they want to replace the original reality. When you go out into nature, you can feel and sense the spirit. You come back, you breathe the oxygen, you come back into your house and you feel better, don't you? Yes, because you're attuned with nature. That's real. There's another side of real, which is the artificial. And they want to replace the real, the natural, with the artificial, and lock us all into an artificial reality, which was portrayed in the Matrix movie series, which has its fourth part coming out at the end of this year. Coincidence? Or are we part of a synchronicity wave where things are coming to a head now. And actually, what this dark force is most good at, that's what the Gnostics described as the prime faculty of archons, those hidden energetic beings that feed off human energy, which those in the background, those satanic networks really serve. Their strongest faculty is the faculty of deception, illusion creation. And they do it through the mind and the thought pattern. They're very good at that. They're very good at portraying that nothing can stop them. And then they entrain your mind, because they know the workings of the mind. They're absolutely freaking afraid of the workings of the heart and heart-based intelligence, which they then define as the coronavirus. The heart that can't be predicted along their trajectory of wanting to impose their agenda of total control. That which intervenes, that which stops their takeover, is what they call the virus. Well, then I'm really glad to be that virus. And they're very good at deceiving us, and deceiving us from what's really going on. And this is the ultimate question to ask: what is real? What is reality? What is the actual state of the world? What's really going on here? Asking prime questions all the time, because your state of awareness and your state of being keeps changing also. So it's always good to fall back on to a prime state. And what this world needs now is an idea. And I want to quote here the great genius. We had so many geniuses throughout human history, but most are not even spoken about. All the small things that people have done and all the big things that people have done, okay? The real big things, they're suppressed. And Leonardo da Vinci said, for example, that life is pretty simple. You do some stuff. Most fails. Some works. You do more of what works. If it works big, others quickly copy it. Then you do something else. The trick is the doing something else. Trying things. Not being afraid to try new things. And here in Austria, okay, our lovely country, come pay a visit, all right, once we blast open the borders. Come pay a visit to the beautiful country. However, the government is just as tyrannical and draconian as anywhere else in the world. And they're really coming for the activists right now. I don't even know how much money they want from me from their fines. Ooh. Yeah. For example, one of the activists here, the main organizer of the 1-year event that we had in the main square in Linz. So we did a festival for freedom for a whole year, every single week, right in front of the police, just sharing our view of reality. I did that after 12 years of research. I had a lot of material, so I went on the stage every single week, most of the times. So I was there. I only missed out on maybe 6 or 7 events from 52 or 53. So I had a lot of material to share, and we did that right in front of the police. And that's where they freaked out. That's where the system freaked out, because that's uncontrollable. Oh no, we can't have that. Yeah, there's a war going on. And the main organizer has been hit. They want 30,000 euros from him. 30,000. How are you going to pay that? No, they just want to lock you away. They just want to get rid of you. And the more damage you've caused, the more they're going to come for you. And then, this is the situation I'm in also right now. They want thousands of euros from me. And that, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, what's next here? What's next? And that's where you need to really, and this is the phase where I'm in right now. The only thing you can do now is trust. Trust the process. Things will come to you. And what's been banging on my door the last 2 months now, constantly, has been do a press conference, do a press conference. So this is what we're going to do. And we're not going to pay any of these fines. No. That's a nice offer from you, darling. Of the criminals. Nice offer. Yeah, you want to charge me for breathing oxygen. Wow, that's a really nice offer, but I respectfully refuse and actually use all of that as leverage. Okay? This is one of the main core messages of people that call themselves Telestai, not Gnostics. They're known in history as Gnostics, but actually they were just human beings that were initiated into truth through the mystery school tradition, which is something that I want to implement back into this world. How can we know what happened in our history? We recreate it in the now. That's what I really want to be focusing on. I want to create universities. I want to have nice libraries. Okay, nice slick libraries full of esoteric knowledge for everyone to take the book that they want and study that out of self-generated interest. That's what I want. And that's why I want to end my project, which goes way back. There's cycles within cycles, larger cycles, but I just want to pick it up at the cycle that I went through since 2019. And then after that, I'm going to share with you what the idea is. Okay. So in 2019, I was going through a very difficult time at the beginning of the year. And that was when I went for 4 months every day, maybe just a few days where I didn't go. Every day I went out into nature, went for a run, I meditated out there, I cried with Mother Nature, because I was just like, what should I do with my life? Because I dropped my studies and I'm just not compatible with this system. That's the core thing. I'm not compatible, and I bet most of you listening to this are also not compatible. Well, that, as you will know, is a great burden, because you don't belong into any of this, what they offer. And you have a strong yearning to create the new paradigm. So it's a strong burden. However, it's also your greatest gift. It's just what it is, and let things unfold bit by bit. Okay, just always keep moving forward, always stay on track, stay on course. And in 2019, after going through a difficult time, in April, actually the 10th of April, I did my first presentation. no expert at all. I did my first presentation on 5G and digital totalitarianism, the social crediting system that they wanted to implement worldwide. Did a lot of research on that. Lots of different angles that are portrayed there. And what I did there was exactly what I just spoke about with Leonardo da Vinci. The trick is the doing something else. I was just being myself. That's the only thing that I can do best, is being myself and going with that. Yeah, let them laugh. Let them laugh. Because I dropped my studies and I don't have a university degree of programming, because my heart is much stronger than subordinating to someone's will of what I should do and shouldn't do. I couldn't live like that any longer. And so I went out and even spoke in front of, at one point, 250 people in a nice location. I was one of the speakers. So throughout 2019, I was doing presentations throughout Austria, and it just kept going. And at the end of 2019, that was on the 31st of October, and you can still watch my interview one day before I did that action. On the 30th of October 2019, you can look on Age of Truth TV. There's my interview that I did with them to break the news one day before it happened. And on the 31st of October, because I know that's a major date for those that are a part of the satanic priest class, I sent the entire Austrian political establishment, every single one, onto their email address, a notice of liability on the illegal, genocidal, and ecocidal implementation of that technology, of microwave radiation overload. And I sent it off, and that was the first trick, the first individual action which no one. I studied different people who are involved in notice of liability action and how contracts operate, but I did my own thing. I did it my way. And that's the idea I also got, is that when we, as expressions of the source from which all life force energy originates from, we can learn the principles, for example, the Hermetic principles. And I point people to the Kybalion, for example, which is a very good book to just get a feeling and a listing of these Hermetic principles, or the Natural Law seminar from Mark Passio. He has all the principles in there also, and speaks eloquently and very informatively about these natural law principles. However, these are principles, those natural law principles, which are then there for you to apply them. And you do not have to copy. You can, but you do not have to copy what other people do. Go with your own intuition. Go with your own idea. What messes up these psychopathic control freaks, those technocrats, what messes them up most is an original idea. They can't handle it. They seriously can't handle it. And that's what I did in 2019. I just sent that off. They could have assassinated me. Some agent or whatever, Notice of liability? What? You mean holding the entire political establishment accountable for just following orders the whole time? This didn't just start with the whole scam in 2020. This has been going on forever. Since 2020 is just the unveiling. of what has been happening all the time. And I just took heart and said no. And it was 16 pages long to get them something to read. And most of them probably didn't even read it, of course. And this is what people then also say, oh yeah, you sent that to them, but no one actually read it. Well, I couldn't give a damn if they read it or not. I did my part. And that put me along the journey of continuing to be active. And when you have an original idea, when you're an expression of that source of all life force, that source wants to experience something new. It wants to express itself in the infinite ways of that infinity that it is. Even if we can't grasp properly the concept of infinity, it's the only thing that makes sense, that what we experience out there, the entire creation is infinite. We'll never know anything. We'll never know everything there is to know. There's always more that you can know in the detailed knowledge and beyond the macrocosmic knowledge. There's so much to know. Yes, it's infinite. However, the mind can rest when you can go full circle with knowledge and understand the principles on which this reality experience and the experience of your life is founded upon. Then the mind can rest and the heart can take over. Use those principles. The principle of cause and effect, for example. And when you read the Kybalion, that's one of my favorite things that I picked up from this book, is that the higher causes supersede the low vibrational causes. The high frequency causes that come from you as an infinite being, the high frequency causes supersede the low frequency causes. So whatever they do, you can supersede them with your high vibration. When your action comes from a place of love, care, that's what you learn in Mark Passio's seminar also, the principle of care. When you really care about the children, about the human family, you take heart and you do what's the right thing. Because the consequences will come to you anyway if you don't do it. You know what the agenda is. You know what I'm talking about when I say FEMA camps, and they want to do them everywhere. That's what they have planned. However, there's always the element. That's why they call us a virus, because they can entrain humanity along a certain thought pattern, and you can observe that thought pattern that they want humanity in. What do I mean? It's the Corona program. What happens in autumn after summer? Because people need a little bit of a break. Otherwise, everyone would see it for what it is and take more of an action. Like, no, I can't even get my summer off. Now, this is far too much. So you give people a little bit of freedom. And then what happens in autumn? All stands back in amazement. Oh, the cases have gone up again. It's a program. These people are not intelligent. They might be clever because they know the workings of the mind and how to mind control the masses, but they can't mind control everyone. Like people like me, people like you listening here, they can't mind control everyone. And this is what they mean with the virus. Unpredictability, sovereignty. They cannot impose their worldview on your free will. Because again, we learn from the Kybalion, it's all about principles and acting and being and acting within those principles that this reality is founded upon. When my will as a sovereign being is stronger than the will of the environment, it has to change. It has to go. A similar expression of that principle is when you want to change, when you want to release a trauma that is still trapped within the body. This is what you learn from the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, if people know that. The book that I can recommend is You Are the Placebo, and generally his books are amazing. You Are the Placebo. Yeah, you are the placebo. Why does the placebo work? Because of your willpower. A very, very powerful thing. Very, very powerful principles. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza explains is that when your emotion, when you do his meditations, and you go into the unknown, okay, you close your eyes, and what you basically do is you let go of the neural pathways that have been formed along the trauma that has happened. And we're all traumatized as a society. I mean, look outside of you. It's all trauma-based mind control. All of that. Everything else is a distraction from it. It's all about trauma-based mind control. And when your internal emotion, that you overcome that trauma, when your internal emotion of gratitude for the trauma as a learning experience, when your gratitude for a new outcome, when you cross the river of change, as he explains, and you go from one personality, let's say personality A, and you cross the river of change to personality B. And when that personality B is a sovereign being, I want to live my dreams. I'm here in this life to learn my lessons and recognize that all my traumas are a learning lesson. That also the trauma of what we've been going through since the beginning of this decade is a learning exercise. And when I can recognize that the dark force represents a learning lesson, then it has to end when I learn that lesson. And when you cross over from personality A into personality B, you walk through that, the river of change. When you move forward from personality A to personality B, when you move forward, you are going to attract always resistance. Why? Let's say personality A is here and personality B is there. You want to change your life? Yeah, great, go on. You're an infinite being. You can do that. However, realize the forces at work in this realm, in this reality. That is all based on energy. Realize how energy works. And you can take a feather. Contraction, expansion. 6666. Contraction, expansion. When you let it go. So from personality A to personality B, and personality B where you want to get is of a high vibration. That is of a lower vibration. What's going to happen is you're going to get resistance because there's a potential frequency. There's a frequency difference between those two states. So you have to cross the river of change. How do you do that? By realizing that your will to change, it has to be stronger than the emotions you're attached to from your old personality. And that's a microscopic example that applies to the macrocosm that we live in. So the world state the state of the world right now. Also in your community, what's going on? People wearing muzzles? Politicians lying every single day? Oh, guess what? That's everywhere in the world. And be glad you're not in places like Malaysia and the Philippines, where you get thrown into a fucking prison if you don't get jabbed. It's fucking crazy what's going on out there. So instead of personality A, personality B, we take the world as it is now and the world we want. There's a frequency difference. And we need to cross that river of change in the same way as I've just explained and apply that. You're going to have resistance massively. So what I would say is that resistance between those two states are represented, for example, by these fines that the police are serving to us. And the courts, with all the people that are part of the mafia structure, even maybe initiates, low-level initiates, obviously, and just doing their job. However, that, you don't become the victim of that. You're not a victim of any of that. A true view of this situation, when you've got piles of fines, is when you really want to change something. Okay, and this is what I embarked on ever since 2019. I knew this is the end game. When you know what 5G is, you know it's the end game. Realize the synthetic human that they want to create. They're at war with Earth. They're at war with us. They're at war with the principles that this reality is founded upon. They're at war with that. They want to be gods, create their artificial world and lock us all into it. But they cannot overtake the principle of free will. Not yet. They're trying to, and have a situation then where free will doesn't apply anymore and everyone runs around like a robot in an automated state. So coming to the idea now at the end, we need to do something original, something that's never been done before. This has never been done before. Yeah, that's why it's going to work. That's exactly why it's going to work. Remember in the movie, The Matrix? But Neo, this has never been done before. Yeah, that's why it's going to work. That's exactly the reason why it's going to work. Exactly the reason why, because it's never been done. And when it's never been done, people see that like, wow, what the fuck? Wow, yeah, that's great. Let's do that. Okay, so this is early morning today. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning today. I only had like 5 hours sleep, and I just woke up. I did a meditation and the idea just dropped in. Okay, so this is the idea. Going back into the beginning of the show, okay? They've lied most about our history. There's very good clues and evidence to support that there was a worldwide civilization that existed on this planet not too long ago, up to 200 years ago, and was systematically eliminated. And they had free energy technology. All those buildings that you have in your surrounding, be aware of your surrounding. Look at the buildings that we cannot build anymore now. What do they build now? Pathetic constructions. Pathetic. You can never freaking build the Arc de Triomphe in France. No one can build that now because you do not have the intelligence to build something like that. I admit also I don't have the intelligence to know how to build that. Okay, and that's me just being honest. I don't know how to build that, but I'd like to find out. I'd definitely like to find out. I'm curious about that. So they've distorted history. They create the perception, the narrative that we're a bloodthirsty species that can't get on with each other. With all these wars that have happened, and we just always do wars against each other and kill millions of people, although in the background they're financed by the same, but we don't want to talk about that, do we? Because they're the ones writing the history and control the financial and monetary system. And we create the narrative that we're all bloodthirsty, although none of us want war. We've got that narrative that runs through our psyche, and then obviously people will latch onto the idea of saving the planet for climate change. Of course they'll latch onto it, because deep down they've been manipulated to have original sin, because it's all a religion. You're born with sin. You've not even expressed yourself as a human being because you've just come into this world as a baby, but already you're with sin. No, it's all a freaking lie. It's their story, and stick it up your ass, because I'm not having none of your story. I don't believe that story. That's what needs to happen. Realize the long procedure of manipulation has been happening. The first industrial revolution, we're talking, as I said in the beginning, the end of the 18th century, beginning of the 19th century, something changed. This correlates with imperialism, colonialism, and the industrial revolution, and they call it the fourth industrial revolution now. And when it comes to the Germanic-speaking countries in which I am in one right now, Austria, and we know that Austria and Germany were part of the Third Reich, of that catastrophe that happened there, and the Second World War, which was a result of the First World War and the Versailles Treaty, which totally indebted the German countries. And there's a lot to get into there, but what I want to say is there is what isn't there since the Second World War? What is missing between the Allies, the so-called Allies, and the Third Reich, and after that, the German nation and the nation of Austria? What is missing there? A peace contract. There's no peace agreement. That's why we can make one. The trick is the doing something else. So there's people living in this country, Austria, and in Germany, that have gone a certain way, and they have their peace from this system because they don't challenge this system, or not this system, but the system within a system, as I always say. Because I actually want to get back to the system that is contract-based. All these criminals masquerading as government, which follow orders of a satanic criminal network in the background, a mafia that has its networks all across the world, that needs to be gotten rid of. Who are you to say that? Well, maybe it's the only freaking solution to get to the root cause of the problem. Yeah. And the problem, and the thing we don't have in this world, is fucking peace. How do you get peace? Through truth. And the truth of the matter is that we are at war because we've actually been at war constantly since the First World War. We've just not really recognized it in the places we've been at, Europe, but everywhere when the human family is suffering. And that's why you go by principles. As Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Exactly. And that's what we need to learn again. And that's what we can learn now from the dark forces imposing this tyranny on us, is that we say, now it's gotten to us and now we're taking you down. We're taking the dark force down by recognizing the learning lesson that it served us. So, we are working to create, and I'm going to be focusing all my attention on that, to create a binding contract of peace with the government here in Austria. What's the idea behind that I'd like to share? The technocracy that is imposed on us, step by step, it's not getting any better. When you know where the agenda is leading, you'll want to get involved before that and stop it, don't you? How does it get stopped? By your involvement. You can't be relying on other people. You can connect with other people. You can get ideas. Like I share all my information for free and only sometimes ask for donations. And thank you to all the lovely, blessed, and beautiful human beings who have supported my work with a kind donation. I can't thank you enough, but all of this has to be shared for free. That's the new paradigm. What we're working on is the idea that UN Agenda 2030 is tied in. Goes right back to the creation of the European Union also. All of this links together. So why was the European Union created? As a free trade agreement. It's all about trade. It's all about business. They've made the world a business. The world's a business, Mr. Beale, as it says in the movie Network. You've got TTIP. You've got CETA. Oh, these were all done in secrecy. You weren't even allowed to look into it. No one's talking about that anymore. Got all what they are internationally binding contracts of the international community. Internationally binding contracts. The world's run by contracts. However, they don't ask for each and every single one of our consent. They don't ask for it. They just presume that you're consenting. Oh yeah, we can move along. Yeah, because they don't have an army behind them. They don't have a police behind them, because the way they think is through force. Oh, anyone who's gonna challenge the agenda, what? You're gonna show up with the fucking military in front of my door? Well, good luck with that. Because I know you want to transhumanize me. You're never gonna do that. I'm gonna do everything for that not to happen. And that's why I'm doing something different. I'm inverting your plan. Because your plan's an inversion, I invert that back, and I'm back with the actual truth of the matter. The only real solution to a problem, is to remove the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem is that no one asked for my fucking consent to any of this takeover bid, to this colonization that has been happening since the beginning of the 19th century at least. And you're colonializing the world. And I've woken up to the fact that Mother Earth doesn't want you scumbags anymore. And she's giving information into my conscious awareness that I share with my human family to make of it what they want. I'm not imposing anything. That's a new paradigm. Because people are intelligent enough to decide if I'm full of shit or if there's actually something behind what I'm saying. I'm not gonna do my peace contract on anyone's structure. I'm not going to write it in the writing that you want me to write. I'm not going to write it on the paper that you want me to write it. Because there's also people that, you have to have this paper with that and you need to sign it here and there. No, you're full of fucking shit. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. A very powerful idea that I'm going to share with all of you guys here. It's about the new paradigm. That's how I'm going to call the press conference I'll be speaking at. Because I have nothing to lose. And what's freedom but nothing left to lose? I'm getting rid of my fears before you guys show up, because fear is the only bloody thing you guys have got. Sending all these fines, threatening with police, threatening with arrest. You know how much it costs for you to arrest me? Because I decide how much my life force energy is worth. So you make all these internationally binding agreements. So, I'm going to make an agreement with some people you've got in government. Because government in this reality represents mind control. And I'm going to speak with mind control directly. Yeah, thank you very much. And if they don't answer my contract that I'm going to write it the way I want to write it. And then we'll have a chat about it. And if that doesn't work, then I'll continue to see what works. But as I know, the world runs under contracts. No one has ever gotten your consent to do what they do. They presume that we are all on the level of a 7-year-old child. And with most of the people out there, they're actually right, but you cannot impose that view on me. And I don't have to send you a certificate that I'm alive, because guess what? I am freaking alive. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sending you notices of liability and sending you a peace agreement, because the beauty about this idea is so from their pyramid structure, they impose Agenda 2030. The complete deletion of private property. You won't be able to own anything, not even your own body. That's patented with you know what. So they want to impose those internationally binding contracts on everyone. Oh yeah, everyone's consented because no one has removed their consent. Well, I removed my consent last year in the notice of liability I gave to you, Mr. President Alexander Van der Bellen, in this country. No one has ever replied to me. So I didn't get a feedback loop that I did anything wrong, because I'm here to learn. Realize, people, human family, we're here to learn, and no one's allowed to impose freaking anything on us. We're here to learn, and when no one comes back to you and says, well, this is actually not a legitimate contract that you sent there, it's not a legitimate document because of X, Y, Z, then I can learn. No one has ever done that. So that makes me think that I'm on the right track. And I'm ready to fire the next bullet of love. I'm doing this out of love. I'm not even... This is how I let go of my anger about these dark forces, is by sending them a peace agreement. Because, and I don't attribute it to Einstein, because personally I don't like the guy, from what I know from him. But I like this quote. You can only solve a problem with a higher level of consciousness than that which created it. So they create war, they want war, and I'm going to expose that agenda. What they want here in Ostros is a civil war. They want more chaos, okay? To have everyone's attention removed from the fact that they created the situation and that they're liable for it, not us. They want to push the liability onto us in that pyramid, as I've explained often enough. They want to push the responsibility for our own demise onto the population. So they want all that war, so I'm going to make a peace agreement and bind you guys to it. And say that in the press conference also. Hey, guys, we've got a new idea and actually things are looking good. And then, if you really want to, then you can really expose that you are total criminals when you come after us after that. But the problem then is going to be that the idea will already be out there. I'm already saying it out there now. I'm not keeping it a secret. What do you think when I speak to someone and a mobile phone is next to them? They're not listening to us. They're obsessed with us human beings. Everyone who's making a difference, they're obsessed. Anyone speaking out, totally obsessed. So that's why I share things openly. They do things in secret. I do things in the open. The only thing that is my insurance, the only thing that gives my protection, is to share this freely. Because I'm not invested in a preconceived outcome. All I know is it's the action that counts, because action is always the end of the Trinity process. I keep repeating these principles because they infiltrate our mind to always forget the simplicity, and you have moments of clarity where you're like, yeah, this is what changes things, and then they want to divert your attention again because that's what they're best at. What they want us in right now is in Central Europe, where we are approaching autumn again now, is for us to think, oh my God, things are going to get better, things are going to get worse now. And the next lockdown is coming anyway, I can't do anything about it. That's their game. And they took your mind already. I get into these states too. I also get into these states. However, kick yourself out of it and realize that is the archontic mind virus, the wetiko, as was said in the comments here also. And thanks, hopes springs eternal. I'm always sorry. I'm so focused on what I portray. This is basically, as I explained in one of the slides, also transmissions of the earth. I'll wake up today and I've got that time to do a live stream again. Time to connect with the human family again, with the community. We are the people we've been waiting for. If there's not a peace contract, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I'm going to do it my way, because all it needs is content in it, the context. And then no one's going to ask if I've used the right ink and color. No, that's all distraction from just you doing your work. And insecurity, what insecurity? We're infinite. We're here to make something new. And that's the power. How do you know? Okay, we're all talking about the new earth. When is it going to come? And you look outside of you and things are just fucking crazy. Yeah. When do you know that you're in the new earth? When do you know that you're in the new paradigm? Is when you know what ended the old paradigm. When you know how the old paradigm ended, then you're in the new paradigm. That's why the press conference is called the new paradigm. And I want to end this live stream, and thanks for everyone who's been online with me today, breaking all of this out there. I've got nothing to lose. I can only do what I do. We create the peace contract. And we can do it everywhere. You can have that idea. You can also do it. I'm just starting with it now. You can pick up on that idea and let's do it together. We create the peace contract and we bind the people in government to that peace contract and ask them, where did I put my signature? Where did I put my signature on UN Agenda 2030? I don't think you have my signature because you thought I won't dare when I do. Because I'm a winner and only he who dares wins. Realize, remember, and realize and remember. The main faculty of this control freak force that wants to control all of us is deception. They want to deceive you in order to perceive that they have everything under control and that things are never going to change. That is exactly what they're most skilled at. They have to put us under this spell of perception because we are endowed with creativity. We are the species that originate reality. They can only copy. Remember the following. As long as the roots of wickedness is hidden, is it strong. When it is recognized, it is dissolved. When it is revealed, it perishes, and it has to perish. But we do it in love. Don't hate these people. Don't hate the dark force. Learn from the dark force what your learning lesson is. Our learning lesson is to become free, do the right thing, and don't give a damn about the consequences, because the consequences of you not doing it now are far worse than you pulling the maverick move and do something different. Then they can't handle you. And then they'll know that they'll never defeat the corona that we are, the crown. Much love to you guys. Enjoy your day. Be blessed.